Hello everybody, hello the student in grade 12. Okay, today we come back to our class again. Okay, we are going to learn the last chapter for grade 12 curriculum. Chapter 12, Cambodian History. Unit 1, how history is born. This is the last chapter for grade 12, chapter 12. And unit 1, how history is born. And we are listening, these are focus on listening skill and practice at the close of time, seed of four, and at the close of purpose with in order to, in order that, in order for, so that, and so as to. And now you can open your book on page 70 and 71. But before we are going to our lesson here, I want to come back for your writing for unit 3. Say that the letter from Mora and the money and with the money from the Minister of New Zealand sent to Chompa Hospital through Dr. Sopinda, and then this letter they want you to write the letter back to the Minister for New Zealand to thank you for Minister of New Zealand about the money that they sent for $50,000 to have the Chompa Hospital. Chắc mê read 4 bên trongក្រោយហ្នឹងគេមានទី3 letter from New Zealand គឺ the last section B they want you to write about the letter ចឹងគេចង់ឲ្យយើងសរសេរអំពីសំបុត្រមួយដើម្បី manage the money for $50,000 គេសម្រាប់ការចាត់ចែងលុយថា$50,000 to have Chompa Hospital ក្នុងការជួយពីពេទ្យ Chompa and how do you share and how do you manage the money for $50,000 for a hospital តែយើងចាត់ចែងលុយ$50,000 នោះដូចតិចទៅធ្វើពីពេទ្យ Chompa. Okay, now let's go back to the first thing for here. This is the letter for sorry. Okay, this is the letter. Okay, and this is the letter from for unit 3, okay, and I got you to write for your homework and now compare yours and with mine. แล้วយើងប្រៀបធៀបការសរសេររបស់អ្នកនិងការសរសេររបស់លោកគ្រូដែលដូចជាយើងអត់ Okay, this is the letter, the part of letter from the New Zealand minister. This is the money you to have with improvement that you are carrying out at the hospital. And how do you manage and how do you spend $50,000 for hospital? And this is the first letter, start like this. Dear Mister, first of all, I would like to thank you and the government of New Zealand very much for giving here. This is the part of my writing and to compare with yours. Giving $50,000 to Chompa Hospital so that we can carry out the improvement they are needed. This is a lot of money, and here's a lot full stop, and I can guarantee that the money will be it will be spent. It will be spent well. We would like to spend about $50,000 on repairing some of the hospital buildings and about $20,000 on new furniture such as beds, chairs as well as medicine for the patient and some medical instruments for the doctors and nurses. We will send you a list of all these things together with receipt as soon as we can. We would like We would be very happy for journalists to come to the hospital where all the improvement are completed to take photo and write an article, and we would like also be very happy for people in New Zealand to know about our hospital and take an interest in it. Take interest in it. I will write again soon to let you know how the work is getting on, and of course I will also let you know as soon as the improvement are completed. Thank you again once again for giving our hospital such a large amount of money. Yours sincerely, Dr. Sokchana. Okay, this is the formal letter. Okay, the formal letter you need to write like this. It's not informal letter. Informal letter, okay, you do not write yours sincerely or sincerely yours, but you just write with lots of love, the love from example, and the best wishes. So yeah, and the best way as well. So chẳng đến cái chia sẻ một lần cả hay trong mình chắc hơn mình say yours sincerely được rồi, sincerely yours của mình đấy được rồi, yours faithfully and your faithfully yours in the same. Okay, this is my this is the management here for $50,000 នេះគឺជាការចាត់ចែងលុយ$50,000ចឹងគឺគាត់ថាថាចឹង$50,000នោះគឺ$30,000សម្រាប់នេះសម្រាប់ជួសជុលមន្ទីរពេទ្យអាគារចាត់ចែងមកពីពេទ្យហើយ$20,000ទៀតគឺទិញសង្ហារឹមដូចក្រែដូចជាកៅអីឬគឺជាឆ្នាំខ្លះសម្រាប់អ្នកជំងឺនិងហើយឧបករណ៍ពេទ្យសម្រាប់មនុស្សប្រចាំចិត្តនិងអ្នកគ្រូពេទ្យដែលត្រូវធ្វើដែលត្រូវទិញអញ្ចឹងគឺ$30,000សម្រាប់ជួសជុលអាគារហើយ$20,000សម្រាប់ទិញបរិក្ខារពេទ្យនេះយកទៅបាន Okay, this is the letter that you need to write to manage $50,000 for repair for reporting to Minister of New Zealand. Okay, now let's go to our lesson here. Thank you for okay. This is the letter. Okay, the start here you need to say dear Minister, not dear Dara, dear sister, no, dear Mura, dear Murun, or dear Mora. This is the formal letter. You need to write only dear Minister, dear boss, dear doctor. Okay, now let's go to our lesson here. Let's go to vocabulary. Conflict, conflict. Fine art, fine art. Occupy, occupy. Okay, occupy, occupation. Precise. Oh, precise, not previous. Sorry. Okay. Precise. Okay, precise. Sorry. I confused to write previously. Okay, precise that mean it's a little bit cost. Yeah, precise. Sorry, I write the meaning wrong meaning for precise. Yeah, precise. I confused to previous. Sorry, I confused previous, but precise here. Precise that mean the cautionary word. Precise here. Yeah, sorry here. Conflict, fine art, occupy, precise, priest, reputation, resident, state. Okay, you can copy this word into your notebook. State, resident, reputation, risk, precise, occupy, fine art, conflict. picture, so you look at the picture here. What can you see in this picture? Okay, this is the stage. Okay, and you can see a lot of people, okay, that wearing the special clothes, okay, the traditional special clothes, and this is maybe the king, okay, and they give or they worship the gift to the god or to the statue of the god or the Buddha. But I think this is the Brahma or Shiva, yeah, or Shiva or Brahma or um, Vishnu, maybe because previous time Cambodian is have been following the Hindu or Brahma or Hinduism. In the Hindu, they worship to the um, Iso, Vishnu or Siva, Siva, Vishnu and Brahma, the throne, the soul as well. And this is um, the gift to offer to the god, and give you can see the people here play the Khmer traditional song we call Pungit, and the king look at the gift that they offer to the god. Okay, now answer 3 questions. Good. Answer 3 questions here before we start reading. Okay, listening. I have no check for you to. Okay, for you to read. Yeah, I copy the text for you to read, but not listening. Yeah. Okay, sorry everyone. At the moment, my sons want to drink water. So okay, now let's go to answer 3 questions here for your general knowledge. For general knowledge. នឹងនេះជាសំណួរចំណេះដឹងសកលមួយសម្រាប់ for you all to answer. When does the history of Cambodia begin? Did you see? So how can we find out about our history? And three, would you like to know more about the history of Cambodia? Why? Okay, when does the history of Cambodia begin? Do you think that what the Cambodia Number two, how can we find out about our history? Thì như ai Xoay như đâu ở đằng thì what the xã bao dưỡng đời như đó. Three, would you like to know more about history of Cambodia? Why? Bây giờ cho đăng thì what the Cambodia thế vậy. Okay, look at the answer. Okay, this is my answer for you. Okay, the history of Cambodia begins when the people come to live in Cambodia, and they mean thousands of years ago. Okay, the first one you can answer thousands of years ago when the people first came to live in Cambodia. We call Kuk Lop. In Kaudinya king went to meet Limji or Sauma in Kuk Lop, we call Cambodia. Yeah. When or you can say thousands of years ago, or when people first began to write about Cambodia history. Two, If you want to find the history, you need to learn, and you need to ask the old people, or you can search by the history book, or you can search by the stone temple that they wrote in Sanskrit in their wall or in some part of the temple, ancient temple. Cái năm bay đang ngầm pi vừa quạt bá thì muốn xua nó chặt chắc để gọi xua từ mưa tạm xa để gọi mưa tạm thời đại đấy. Okay, from history book, from old buildings and things, from what old people say. It is the last one. I would like to learn. Yeah, for me, I want to know the history of Cambodia. So it's really important. If we don't know our history, we don't know where we are, where we come from, where we came from, and where we and and where we came from, and where we want to improve, and what we want to improve our country, and who we are, and if we know the history, we can know where we came from, and where and who we are as well, and then we can prevent our country that now is a very small country that it used to be the big one in the world in the previous time. So know about the history is very important for the Cambodian people. Here, yes, I would. Yeah, I would, but some you can say I wouldn't because it interesting. But for me, okay, yes, I would because it's interesting our history. It helps us to understand the present now. If we understand the past, if we try to know about the past and we understand about what we are in the present. Okay, everyone, let's to read the listening text together. Okay, nobody is sure about how different people move through what is now Cambodia. It's in very um, early time, not early time, but early time. The story, the early time, very early time. Okay, what is wrong? Early, earlier, very early is next time. Uh, Sequently, we don't know for certain how long people have occupied Cambodia. Sorry, the Cambodia where they were. Here again, nobody is sure about how different people yes, no, people move. Sorry, not a mistake. Different people move through what is now Cambodia in very earliness, in very early. Consequently, we don't know for certain how long people have occupied Cambodia, where they came from, or what language is they what language they spoke. What we know, sorry, we wrong too. What we know, however, is that by the 50th century, people in the region were already strong, influenced by Hinduism and Buddhism. We know this from early Sanskrit writing and choir that developed from it. It is not surprising, therefore, that the main character in history in a in a story about how the state of Cambodia was born is a Hindu priest. The name was Kaudinya. When he came to a region covered in water, he was met by a princess. After he had given gifts to the princess, her father, who was a water snake or Naga, decided to drink up the water that covered his land so that he could give it to Gaudinya. If you sorry, but this text I copy from the book, but the book is tear, is theory, is a tear or torn. Yeah. But the piece of paper is torn, is broken, so I cannot find the clear one for this one. Okay, sorry, Sanskrit. Writing. He could give it maybe country. He could give it maybe it not he could give it to Gaudinya. The history tells us not only about how the country now called Cambodia was into and from the west, but that early permanent residents dedicated their land so as to cultivate. Okay, let's go to the last paragraph. Although Gaudinya, Cambodian first king, came from the west, the earliest writing about Cambodia that we know about came from China. The Chinese writer not only wrote about Gardenia but also about a country called Funan, the center of which some people believe is in the present day province of Prey not province, Prey not the Prey not Prey. The freeway. This story, however, are not history and often conflict with each other, although they do also contain some truth. Okay, everyone turn back to translate this together. Here some part they mean lost because of my lesson. It was torn. Cho nên là sao sẽ là đặt mình một là có nhiều bài 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 I can copy it, I can write it through the full one or some part logic. Cho nên là việc anh bạn tuổi can nobody is sure about how different people move through what is now Cambodia in a very earliness មានអាណាម្នាក់ប្រកាសថាមានអាណាម្នាក់គឺដឹងច្បាស់ថាប្រជាជនអំពីប្រជាជនផ្សេងដែលមកតាំងលំនៅតាមរយៈអ្វីដែលយើងហៅថាកម្ពុជានាពេលពីដើមនោះទេយើងមិនដឹងច្បាស់ថាប្រជាជនមកពីខាងណាខ្លះទេដែលមកតាំងទីលំនៅមកលើទីកម្ពុជាយើងកាលពីព្រីមៀកាលពីដើមឡើយ Consequently, we don't know for certain how long people have occupied Cambodia, where they came from, and what language they spoke. ដូច្នេះពួកយើងក៏មិនបានដឹងប្រកាសថារយៈពេលប៉ុន្មានហើយដែលប្រជាជនមកត្រួតត្រាឬក៏គ្រប់គ្រងប្រទេសកម្ពុជាពេលណាដែលពួកគេបានមកហើយបានមកពីណាហើយភាសាអ្វីដែលពួកគេនិយាយនោះ What we know however is that by the 5th century people in the region were already strongly influenced by Hinduism and Buddhism ប៉ុន្តែអ្វីដែលយើងបានដឹងនោះគឺនៅសតវត្សទី15ដែលប្រជាជនបាននៅក្នុងតំបន់ហ្នឹងគឺមានឥទ្ធិពលយ៉ាងខ្លាំងពីសាសនានោះហើយនិងព្រះពុទ្ធសាសនា We know this from early Sanskrit writing and Khmer that developed it from it ពួកយើងបានដឹងអំពីសម័យដើមដែលគឺសរសេរជាភាសាសំស្ក្រឹតនិងភាសាខ្មែរខ្លះៗដែលបានធ្វើការអភិវឌ្ឍពីភាសារបស់ខ្លួន It is not surprising therefore that the main character in history about how the state of Cambodia was born is Hindu priest វាគឺមិនគួរចាប់អារម្មណ៍ទេទោះជាយ៉ាងណាក៏ដោយលក្ខណៈដែលសំខាន់នៅក្នុងប្រវត្តិសាស្ត្រ character លក្ខណៈសំខាន់មែនសំខាន់លក្ខណៈសំខាន់ក្នុងប្រវត្តិសាស្ត្រគឺតែអំពីរដ្ឋរបស់កម្ពុជារដ្ឋកម្ពុជាដែលបានចាប់កំណើតជា Hindu ជាបុព្វជិត Hindu The name was Kaudanya and when he came to a region covered in water he was met by a princess ព្រះនាម Kauden ហើយនៅពេលដែលព្រះអង្គបានយាងមកតំបន់នេះដែលជាតំបន់ទឹកគឺពោលពេញទៅដោយផ្ទៃទឹកព្រះអង្គបានជួបព្រះនាមមួយអង្គ princess After he had given this to the princess her father who was a water snake or naga decided to drink up the water that covered his land so that he could give it to Kaudanya ក្រោយពីព្រះអង្គបានដល់សួយសាករទៅដល់ព្រះអង្គម្ចាស់ស្ត្រីព្រះនាងម្ចាស់ព្រះអង្គព្រះនាងបិតារបស់ព្រះនាងជាចាស់ជាស្ត្រីនោះបិតារបស់ព្រះនាងដែលជាស្ដេចនាគស្ដេចគឺជា he was water snake គឺដែលជាខាងនាគនៃ dragon គឺពស់ទឹក or naga ដែលជា who was a water snake ដែលជាពស់ទឹកមានន័យថាដែលជានាគដែលជា or naga ឬដែលជានាគ decided to drink up ក៏សម្រេចចិត្តបឺតទឹក drink up the water that cover his land ដែលបឺតទឹកដែលបឺតទឹកចេញបឺតទឹកដែលទឹកហ្នឹងគឺវាលិចលង់ដែលវាគ្របដណ្ដប់ទៅលើដីកោះហ្នឹង so that he could give it to Kaudanya វាកន្លែងហ្នឹងគឺមានទួលបន្តិចហើយគឺស្ដេចនេះក៏បានបឺតទឹកហ្នឹងបឺតទឹកដែលនៅព័ទ្ធជុំវិញកោះហ្នឹងឲ្យរីងហើយដូច្នេះក៏បានប្រគល់ទៅឲ្យប្រគល់កោះហ្នឹងក៏ដូចជាកូនស្រីទៅឲ្យ Kaudanya The history tells us not only about how the country now called Cambodia was influenced from West តែកន្លែងនេះរៀងរលំបន្តិចគឺបានផ្សេងមកចឹងប្រវត្តិសាស្ត្របានប្រាប់យើងមិនត្រឹមតែអំពីប្រទេសយើងថាវាការឡើងមួយផ្លេចដែលគេហៅថាកម្ពុជានោះទេហើយថែមទាំងទទួលឥទ្ធិពលពីប្រទេសបណ្ដាលោកខាងលិចប៉ុន្តែ the permanent resident ប៉ុន្តែទីលំនៅជាអចិន្ត្រៃយ៍តាំងពីដើមមកនេះ irrigated their land so គឺបានធ្វើការស្រោចស្រពដីស្រែចម្ការគឺបានមានធ្វើស្រែចម្ការហើយក៏ដូច្នេះក៏អាចនឹងប្រមូលផលមានន័យថាប៉ុន្តែគឺការពីកម្ពុជាយើងគឺតាំងទីទៅជាអចិន្ត្រៃយ៍ហើយក៏ បានបញ្ចូលទឹកស្រែមកពួកគេដូច្នេះគេអាចប្រមូលផលបាន Although Kaudanya, Cambodian first king, came from the west, the earliest writing about Cambodia that we know about comes from China. បើទោះបីជាព្រះបាទកៅដិនដែលជាសត្វខ្មែរដំបូងដែលមកតាំងដែលមកពីទិសខាងលិចគេអាចទៅមកពីឥណ្ឌានៅដើមសំណេរពីប្រទេសកម្ពុជាសំណេរដើមរបស់ប្រទេសកម្ពុជាយើងដែលយើងដឹងថាដែលម្នាក់នោះគឺមកពីប្រទេសចិន The Chinese writer not only wrote about Kaudanya but also about a country called Funan, the center of which some people believe in is in the present day province of Privy. ជនជាតិអ្នកសំណេរជនជាតិចិនគេកាលនោះគេហៅជីវតាខ្វាន់នេះជនអ្នកសំណេរជនជាតិចិនជាច្រើនមិនត្រឹមតែសរសេរអំពីប្រវត្តិកៅដិនប៉ុណ្ណោះទេប៉ុន្តែថែមទាំងបាត់អសូរប៉ុន្តែថែមទាំងអំពីប្រទេសកម្ពុជាគេហៅថា Funan, the center of which some people believe ដែលជាមជ្ឈមណ្ឌលមួយដែលប្រជាជនខ្លះជឿថាគឺជាដែលបច្ចុប្បន្ននេះគឺស្ថិតនៅក្នុងខេត្តព្រៃវែង These stories, however, are not history and often conflict with each other. រឿងរ៉ាវទៅ although they do also contain some truth. រឿងរ៉ាវទាំងនេះបើទោះបីជាយ៉ាងណាក៏ដោយក៏មិន are not history គឺមិនមែនជាប្រវត្តិច្បាស់លាស់នោះទេហើយក៏ថែមទាំងមានចំនួនអំពីប្រវត្តិនេះទៀតផងដែលមានការប្រតិបត្តិគ្នាអំពីឆ្លោះគ្នាជាមួយនឹងឆ្លោះគ្នាអំពីប្រវត្តិសាស្ត្រនេះផងដែរហើយទោះបីជាពួកគេហ្នឹងគឺទោះបីជាយ៉ាងណាក៏ដោយពួកវាក៏មានលក្ខណៈពិតមួយចំនួនដែរពិតមួយចំនួនអំពីសំណេររបស់ជនជាតិចិន Everyone, okay, now I have 5 questions for you to answer at home again. Okay, this is the text I write for you and read and translate already. And now you can answer 5 questions in section B. My writing developed from Chinese. Oh, sorry, this is the true or false already. Okay, you can take the word true or false here again. My writing developed from Chinese. សំណេរខ្មែរគឺបានមកពីការអភិវឌ្ឍមកពីភាសាចិនខ្មែរយើងសរសេរបើដែលសំណេរខ្មែរយើងអភិវឌ្ឍមកពីភាសាចិន Everyone true or false here? True or false? នឹងសំណេរខ្មែរយើងបានមកពីភាសាចិនOkay, false, it developed from Sanskrit. អញ្ចឹងវាមិនមែនមកពីភាសាចិនទេមកពី Sanskrit. អញ្ចឹង number 2, the history of Kaudanya is about how the state of Cambodia was born. ប្រវត្តិនៃព្រះបាទកៅដិនគឺស្ដីអំពីរដ្ឋកម្ពុជាដែលបានកើតឡើង Okay, true. 3, Kaudanya was a Buddhist priest. អញ្ចឹងកៅដិនគឺជាបុព្វជិតសាសនាពុទ្ធ Hindu priest. 3. Some of the earliest writing about Cambodia is in Sanskrit and Chinese. Okay. So number 4 is true as well. គឺសំណេរដើមគឺនិយាយពីភាសាអង់គ្លេសនិងផ្នែកទៀតមួយចំនួនទៀតជាភាសាចិន The history of Cambodia has already been written. ប្រវត្តិសាស្ត្រកម្ពុជាគឺត្រូវបានគេសរសេរចប់ទៅគ្រប់ហើយ Okay, no. Now we still conflict with each other about the history of Cambodia. So it is not it means that we have not found out everything about the history of Cambodia yet. There is more to learn about the history. Okay, we have not found out everything about the history of Cambodia. So we need to learn more. អញ្ចឹងយើងរកប្រវត្តិសាស្ត្រនេះមិនទាន់បានឃើញអស់ទេអញ្ចឹងយើងគួរតែរៀនបន្ថែម Okay, everyone, we can stop for this lesson right now, and see you next part, part C, part D, and part E together in the next hour. Goodbye and good night. See you next time.